Welcome to inspiredscripture.com, where we break down the key lessons of every chapter in the Bible to make them relevant to you. Today we'll be talking about Job chapter 13, which we've titled 7 Lessons on What God Expects from You. So let's break it down. Lesson 1, forgiveness. Job had just been mercilessly attacked by his friends, and he responded in anger. And he said, "I am not inferior to you, and you smear me with lies." These are things that we would probably say if we were in his shoes, because Job had done nothing to deserve his trials. And then Job said, "I desire to argue with God." Now, his response was natural. His response is exactly what we would probably do ourselves, but it's not what God calls upon us to do. God calls upon us to forgive the unforgivable, forgive those who've hurt us in a way that is undefendable. Lesson 2, love. Job then again responded to his friends and said, "You are worthless physicians." And he said, "Oh, that with you, you would be silent and that would become your wisdom." He was sarcastic, he was bitter, he was acting exactly as any one of us would do if we were wrongfully attacked. But again, what he did, what may sound worldly, what may sound natural, is not what God calls upon believers to do. He calls upon us to show love to those who have hurt us, those who have become our enemies. Lesson 3, humility. Job then responded with sarcasm at his friends and said, "Will you contend with God? Will it go well for you when God examines you?" He didn't speak with humility. He didn't speak with someone who is just as much in need of mercy and grace as his friends. And that is a lesson for us. When we lash back at others who've acted wrongfully towards us, we need to speak with humility because we are in need of mercy and grace as well. Lesson 5, faith. Just when we think our hero had given up and we were ready to close this book, he says one of the most amazing things in this book. He says, "Though he slay me," meaning God, "I will hope in him," meaning that he didn't understand why God was doing these things. He was angry at God, but no matter what, he was still going to place his hope in God. And this is where he showed that he was this great man of faith that makes him one of the great people of faith in the Old Testament. Lesson 5, spiritual growth. Just when we think that Job had turned the corner and done things for good, he shows that he's still got more to learn. He then says to God, "Nevertheless, I will argue my ways before him. I will prepare my case," meaning that he was waiting for his chance to prove his innocence in court. Job again acted as we did. He wanted to prove himself innocent when this is not what God called upon him to do. God called upon him to sit and let God show him what in his heart needed to change. God wants us to grow spiritually and trust in him and not to defend ourselves when we go through a trial. Lesson 6, trust. Job then said, "Why do you consider me your enemy?" Speaking of God, when God had done no such thing. Job confused his circumstances with God's will, and he did not understand that sometimes that God allows the innocent to suffer. He needed to learn to trust God even when the reasons were unknown to him. And that is a lesson that we all need to learn as well. Lesson 7, hope. Job then said, "You've put my feet in stocks," meaning that he accused God of chaining him up in order to allow him to suffer when God had done no such thing. When we suffer, when we feel hopelessness, God calls upon us to place our hope in him. So these are the 7 key lessons. If you want to learn more, check out our website at inspiredscripture.com and please like and subscribe. Thank you.